So
Yeah.
tell me why.
You know, the one that came to mind the most was probably the first opportunity to serve on the international level. I had joined Rotary for the wrong reasons initially, probably for business more so for a lot of people's connection to Rotary, but I soon became a Rotarian after getting involved in the club, and I think that's what really separated the difference between being a Rotarian and a member. That didn't come clear for me right away, actually. I think in my early career in business, I looked at Rotary as an opportunity for networking, as a business opportunity for it. But I soon learned the culture of Rotary, and I soon learned the kind of people I was working with, and that more and more, gradually, every meeting that I attended and every function we ever did, there was a deep-seated passion for people to give. And while I joined the club for reasons for business, I grew up in the community, and I often searched for ideas on how to give back to the community I grew up in. So what started out as probably a business venture turned into be a pretty rewarding one to become a Rotarian. Change is probably it's deeds versus words. Everybody, I think, is born with a social conscience. Perhaps if you're fortunate enough, you're raised by parents that would get you involved in contributing to society. But Rotary was the first opportunity actually to put your words and thoughts to action. And it was, for a lot of people, the painful, regular contacts about we got this project or we got this to do. For me, it became the exciting thing. It was finally an opportunity locally to contribute or to give back to the community I grew up in, and that made a difference because it stirred the social conscience in me even further. And I'm a big believer that it's about what you give and as opposed to what you take, and your legacy is about what you've contributed and what you've taken. And I hardly have time for people that are takers, and have lots of time for people that are givers, and that's what Rotary, and at least our club, is all about. On a community level, it was just the regular activities that we did. You know, the pancake breakfast, things that we served, that was a way to connect with community people that already knew you. On an international level, it was being an international director and being part of a project actually that we're still involved with today in the Children of Ecuador. But probably the biggest memory is my first convention, which happened to be in the year preceding my year as president. And I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to Japan and experience the international side of Rotary. And that was an eye-opener. I'd never experienced the grand scale of Rotary. I've experienced it at a district level and a club level, but never at a grand scale. And that was pretty amazing. It left an impact on me that made me think bigger than what I really did when I joined Rotary in the first place for it. So Osaka, Japan is where the convention was, and I felt like the big white guy in a land of majorities. Felt kind of awkward at times, but you really get a sense of Rotary as a major player in world programs and social aspect of things when you go to an international convention. I'd highly recommend anybody to be part of an international convention at some point in their career. Big gamble by the club. Obviously, I probably was one of the youngest presidents at the time, but probably the biggest impact for all of us was that it was Rotary's centennial year. It was a 100-year celebration of Rotary's existence, and there were initiatives and programs and activities around the world, and a lot left open to clubs and their own autonomy to decide what they wanted to do. Our own club struggled initially with coming up with a meaningful way to celebrate Rotary's 100th year birthday, but we we chose to probably spend most of our efforts and times that year to build on the local contributions that we made. And significantly, it was about the city's beautification. We had done, as evidence in some of our photos, some planters along the highway. It was very interesting one summer, on a hot summer day after regular Rotary lunch, we were planting yellow carnations and blue flowers right at, gosh, what is that? Is that King Street? I'm trying to remember, but 5 or 6 women taking wonderful direction from men, and vice versa about how to plant things, and it ended up being a real fun time because what turned out to be a make-work project turned out to be real some enthusiasm. Not that age has any bearing on someone's enthusiasm towards it, but I think when you're younger you have a fervor about getting things done and working and being positive all the time for it. It was gamble, calculated risk. The way this club operates is that it molds people into those positions, and we're fortunate to source leaders. Sometimes those leaders are great, sometimes they're not so great, but at the end of the day, you can never question anyone's commitment to do that job. It's what an honor, what an opportunity. I'm awed when I think about the overwhelmingness I sometimes feel about what demand there is on society to give and contribute, make the world a better place, but I'm still honored and still in awe of what we accomplish on a regular basis. There's so much, it's so easy to make criticism of the end results or how we get things done, but we do get things done. And you know, when you put that in context, what others would have you do by doing nothing, it's what makes Rotary special for sure. I mean, our ability to just get stuff done, and it's got its bumps along the roads for sure. But you know, what an opportunity that a small town like Spruce Grove that grew into a big city, and to become and garner, you know, people to make the world a better place. That's a tremendous opportunity for our community and for our club for sure. We've just got to build on that. The second part of our centennial celebration was a donation of 100 trees, which are still evident along Campsite Road. We had one of our members at the time was a horticulturist, Gordon Heaps, and he came up with the idea of tree plantation along that boulevard that still exists. Some wonderful images of Rotarians struggling to plant these trees in the ground. So the hope was that these trees would be you know, a lasting symbol of Rotary's 100-year celebration, and I think that will be achieved in time. I think the only thing that lacked at the time was a public knowledge of that those were Rotary trees. We were trying to find a safe way to acknowledge that. Yeah, real exciting project too. Again, we were struggling with how to come up with a meaningful way to, you know, to contribute to the community of Spruce Grove. And again, we consulted the membership and came up with a select list of ideas. But the idea that got the most attention was the idea of redeveloping the park that we had really been given, if you will, or given the stewardship of. We had a horticulturist draw up a plan for us to replant trees, reorientate the traffic flow, and it still connected to something to this day that everybody recognizes. It's Rotary Park. It's a symbol and a location that's often used by people when they're visiting Spruce Grove too. To the point where I think it's going to remain a lasting symbol of Rotary's contribution to the city of Spruce Grove, and one that's easily identifiable on such a high traffic area as well. So a lot of work bees, amazing amount of contribution by people that are givers again, contributors to the park. We are fortunate to have a diverse group of people. A lot of us were really good at just taking orders and being stewards of smarter people about how to do this, but it really put to bed what I knew was this asset of the club. We had doers. We had people that were able and willing to contribute, and they were workers. They were good work bees. I think what I've learned as I've grown older is that we're fortunate to have some good parents that have brought up some kids that have got a growing social conscience. I think things have changed. Apathy is waning a little bit. I think there's a growth where we're starting to get some younger people think more worldly and more about what they contribute to society as opposed to what they take from society. And anyone that's getting started as a young person, when they think about service clubs, I think they think too much of the perceptions of old stodgy, old rules, old guard things, and I think we're working through that. It's just the evolution of service in general. But what it does, it rounds your character. At the end of the day, everything you do when you contribute, whatever small way you find to make work, just makes you that much a bigger person. I think it makes a difference to you. I think it makes a difference to your community, and ultimately, if there's enough of it, and if the wave grows, it makes a difference to the world for sure. So it's a big deal, I think, to be a contributor, not a taker. There's lots of opportunity for fun. I think it's just who I am, though. At the end of the day, no matter what I do, it's about enjoying life. I mean, in my line of work, I see people, work really hard to create wealth for themselves, to use and or pass on, and in some cases it's interrupted by life. I've had family members the same way. So my own philosophical beliefs about life are, life's so short, you got to have fun while you're doing it. When it came to Rotary, this was just a natural fit. There were so many fun people when I joined, and still are to this day, so many fun people. And it's kind of neat to get together once a week with your extended family to have some fun with. And some of those things are weekly things, and some of those things are big social things that the club does on a regular basis. Socializing was probably the one aspect that when I did a survey of our membership, Rotarians asked for more of. They wanted more opportunity to have fun and enjoy each other for it. So that was a natural fit for me. As much as I regret being in photos these days, I was quite proud of that one, because that was my first opportunity to extend outside of the club, and I was asked to go volunteer some time at the district conference and be part of a committee. And I think at that time they were looking for sergeants for the district, so I was exposed to some district representatives, and of course I learned more about the district structure at that time. But the conference was pretty neat. It focused, obviously, as it continues to do today, about expanding the knowledge of Rotary and the contributions of Rotary. But the fun aspect was inherent there all the time. That costume, I think, it was my idea to come up with, and I went to I think Shirley Potter's costumes at that time, and had all kinds of fun trying on different costumes for it. So. Thankfully, my wife never saw the photo, so needless to say, there's a small amount of me that is a little jealous that she didn't, but that'll change. Keep doing and start doing. Keep doing the things that we're good at. It's sometimes controversial. Members often have shown we don't like when we write a check to an issue or an event. They'd rather see us make participation. I don't see it that way. I see we're good at raising funds from the community. I see we're good at putting the trust that people in our community have given us to good work. So keep doing the fundraising. Keep doing the contributions, both by participation and financial.